So what do we know about the prophecy of Daniel 8? Hello, my name is Jairo Torres, and in this presentation I'm inviting you to review what the Bible tells us about it and what historical records show as witnesses. I will start with a prayer asking the Holy Spirit to lead us throughout this study. Let us keep in mind Paul's words from 1 Corinthians 13:12. Now I know in part. This reminds us that we all begin with only partial understanding. The two-horned ram of Daniel 8:3 represents the Persian Median Empire. The Medes' first horn first appeared on the historical scene around 800 BC, clashing with the Assyrians. The Persian kingdom's second horn arose around 550 BC and was more successful, as described in the third verse. This occurred when Cyrus the Great deposed the Median king Astyages. Cyrus belonged to the ruling house of Persia and consolidated both kingdoms as he had ties to the Medes through his mother. Cyrus established himself as king of both the Medes and the Persians. In Daniel 8:4, the ram charging westward, northward, and southward refers to the campaigns of Cyrus the Great, west against the Lydian Empire in Turkey, the Battle of Thymble in 547 BC, north against the Massageti in Central Asia, and south against the Babylonian Empire, the Battle of Opis in 539 BC. Alexander the Great is represented by the goat with one horn. He, with his Greek army, crushed the Persian Mede army's two horns at the Tigris River and conquered the powerful Persian Median Empire, including the legendary city of Babylon. This symbolized the defeat of the Persian and Mede at the Battle of Issus in 333 BC, when Alexander defeated Darius III, as described in Daniel 8 5-7. This passage from Daniel 8:8 recounts what happened after the death of Alexander the Great. The empire was divided among his four generals: Cassander, who received Macedonia; Lysimachus, Thrace; Seleucus, Syria; and Ptolemy, Egypt. These are the four horns of verse 8. The smaller horn in Daniel 8:9 refers to Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who ruled the Seleucid Empire in Syria between 175 and 164 BC. He took the title of Theos Epiphanes, meaning God manifests. Hence the comments in verse 25 that he will make himself great in his own mind. Daniel 8:28 relates how Antiochus reigned, the smaller horn, expanded throughout Antiochus' military campaigns against Egypt in 169, described in more details in Daniel 11:25-30, and against Persia in 166 BC. He also persecuted the Jews, which is the central theme of Antiochus' place in this chapter of Daniel. The end of Daniel 8:25 relates how Antiochus IV died suddenly of an illness in 164 BC, as prophesied in this particular event. Daniel 8:11-12 relates how, contrary to the policy of tolerance to Jewish worship pursued by his predecessors, Antiochus IV outlawed it. This story is told in the apocryphal books of Maccabees 1 and 2. Antiochus ordered the Jews to worship Zeus, and when they refused, he massacred them. In 168 BC, he desecrated the temple by sacrificing a pig on the altar of incense and placing an idol there. This is the abomination of desolation of Daniel 11:31. Antiochus' actions provoked the Maccabees' revolt, led by Judas Maccabeus, and the rededication of the temple in 165 BC. This event is commemorated in the Jewish celebration of Hanukkah, which also was observed by Jesus in John 10:22-23, where it is called the Feast of Dedication. Daniel 8:13-14 refers to the dates of the cessation and restorations of sacrifice. These dates are clearly established historically. The date of the interruption of sacrifice is recorded in 1 Maccabees 1:54-61. The passage says, "On the 15th day of the 9th month of the 145th year, King Antiochus erected the abominable idol of desolations on the altar of God." The date for the restoration of the sacrifice is found in 1 Maccabees 4:52-53. The account says, "And they rose up before morning on the 25th day, on the 9th month of the year 148, and offered sacrifices according to the law on the new altar. At that time there were 2 daily sacrifices, one in the morning and one in the evening, which represents 2,300 sacrifices, or 1,150 days." The Hebrew calendar has a 360-day year and also use intercalary months. Although their length was not uniform, their addition was decided by the high priest. These events occurred during the Greek Empire, and the calculation of days reflects this aspect. Our understanding of the Greek calendar comes from Herodotus' account of the conversation between Solon and Croesus, the Greek king of Asia Minor, about the relativity of happiness in life. Solon cites the typical length of human life. This passage tells us that for the Greeks, each year had 360 days, and every other year, or every 2 years, an intercalary month of 30 days was added. In our calendar, we add an intercalary day every 4 years. The calculation with the Greek calendar in use at the time of the Maccabees reflects the fulfillment of the prophecy. Using the Greek calendar according to Herodotus, and assuming that the year 146 and 148 were leap years, we obtain the following calculations from September 15, 145 to September 25, 148, giving the number of 1,150 days. In conclusion, the historical records show a fulfillment of the prophecy. Even though it is clear that our knowledge is limited, we keep in mind Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 13:12. Any insights that help us to better understand the scriptures are always appreciated. Blessings, Jairo.